Hi friends, today we are going to do our artist study project, Monet, and it's very exciting because it's our first remote learning artist study. So I hope you had time to read the story on YouTube, and here is that, remember that big picture that folded out? Here it is on the table. And I also wanted to show you, this is the illustrator of the book's idea of Monet's water lilies, and this is a picture of the real one here. You see his name is on the bottom here, and this is what we're looking at. Okay, so here's what you're going to need for this, and parents and friends, do whatever you want. This project can be done many different ways. So you can do a little bit of what we're doing or a lot. It's up to you. So I would say this project it's got many layers. So how many layers you want to do is fine. So the first thing you're going to want to do is get a bigger piece of paper. I'm using this paper here, but another idea is if a mom or dad has a file folder at home, you could open it up and use that because file folders are kind of sturdy. Any kind of bigger piece of paper. So we're going to have the paper. You need some paint, and you want to pick spring colors. If you don't have paint, you can also use the food coloring. You want to water it down a little bit, so that it has more of a watercolor effect. You could also use your watercolors, and if you have regular paint, you will use your regular paint. So today Miss Kate is using regular paint in some containers. I've also got brushes and sponges. Kitchen sponges are fine. They don't have to be artist sponges. Any kind of sponges. Also, these are great from the hardware store, these brushes. The kids love them. And some scissors and some regular copy paper. Not anything fancy, just regular copy paper. And if you want some colored paper, that's up to you. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to look at the painting again. Now, here is the painting, and we're going to look at, here's another picture of it. And you notice there's a bridge there. In a lot of his work, there's Japanese bridges. They're like a curved bridge, and they're in his gardens. So you can kind of walk from one area to another, and you can be in the bridge. So Miss Kate made some very simple ones out of paper, and I'm going to show you how to do it. You're going to tear a piece of paper until it's just a half, and then you're going to fold it back and forth like a fan. Back and forth like that. Really easy. And you're going to take a pair of scissors, and in the middle, you're going to cut a rectangle. Everybody knows what a rectangle is? Long on two sides and short on the other. Moms and dads, this might be an area where you might have to help a little. And then on the other side, you're going to cut another rectangle. So when you're done, it's kind of going to look like the capital letter I, right? So then you're going to take one edge here, and you're going to fold it so that it's just in half. Now it looks like the Roman numeral 2. So you're going to cut the corner off and round that like that. And on the bottom, you're going to fold it back in. And on the bottom, you're going to cut that off a little bit more, okay? So when you open it up, it looks a little bit like the bridge. You could even trim this down just a little bit depending on how big your other paper is, because you don't want your bridge to be bigger than your water lilies and your pond. So here's my bridge. Now I'm going to set these aside. And now that I have my bridge done, I'm going to start painting. Now friends, you can do that many different ways. If you can see, he's got lots of different colors in here, but a lot of green. So I'm going to start taking my brush, and I'm going to put a lot of green on my paper. I'm going to do a little green here with the brush, but then I'm also going to use the sponge. And remember, you can use an old kitchen sponge too. I'm going to do a lot of green. Do you see how the sponge takes a lot of surface? It really covers a lot of stuff. So I'm going to just do a lot of this back and forth. And I see a lot of yellow in there too. So I'm going to take a little watercolor brush, and I'm going to put a little yellow every once in a while, a little bit of yellow. And you know why you see that little bit of yellow? Because those are the water lilies. Those are the water lilies. You know, those are the, if you ever go to the Greenwood Cemetery this time of year and later on in the summer, sometimes you see the big lily pads on the lake. Now, I also see a little bit of pink in there too. So this time I'm gonna use the sponge brush, and I'm gonna get a little pink in there. Just a little pink running around. Just whatever you feel like, okay? And the colors should really mix together. Now I'm gonna also use a little bit of blue too. A little bit of blue in there, mixing it all together. And you wanna keep doing this until you've got a whole section covered. But this is what I have so far, okay? Now, if you've covered the whole thing, your paper is going to be wet, right? Because the paint is sticky and wet. Remember, friends? Sticky, wet paint. So we're gonna go back to that bridge that we made, and then you can just stick it down on the paper in the middle. Just stick it right down. And it's okay if your bridge gets a little bit of the paint on there. That's okay, because a lot of times the Japanese bridge kind of disappeared into the area and people just found it when they came upon the lake, or the pond rather. So I'll show you. Remember, let's remember what that looked like. You see, you can barely see it in there. So now that you've got it on there, the paint is gonna help it stick on, but I'm gonna kind of stick it a little bit more with the paint. You don't need glue at all, because the paint is gonna keep it on there. It's gonna stick. Especially since you're using copy paper. The copy paper is so thin, it's not gonna go anywhere. And remember, it's a pond, so we wanna get a little blue in there too, right? Okay, friends, now we've got our water, we've got our bridge. Now let's make our own, let's make it three-dimensional, and let's do some water lilies. Let's look at a picture of the water lilies. Do you see this? This is one that he made with the paint. You see how thick that paint is? Look at all those paint lines. And here's another one, it's smoothed out far away. So you could just do that with the paint, or you can take some paper and make some shapes, so, kind of like a letter B. Make some little shapes and put them down. Again, remember, the paper is going to stick, because why? Because we have the paint on there. So I'm gonna put another little shape on there with some paper, just like that. You see that, friends? It doesn't have to, it can be a lumpy, bumpy shape, that's fine. No water lily, no two water lilies are alike, just like snowflakes. Okay, now they're all white. You see that? That's kind of boring, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna paint over them. We're gonna get that paint on there. And usually in the middle of the water lily, it's yellow. So we're gonna put a little yellow in the middle. A little yellow in the middle there. You could also do this, and a little pink too. You could also do this with some colored paper so that the paper really popped, but you don't have to. So you're just gonna keep going on this and keep working on it and make your bridge. And then hopefully you will have something like this. Obviously it's not just exactly like Mr. Monet's painting, but you get the idea. It really makes me want to go visit those gardens. I bet they're beautiful. Okay, that's all for our Monet artist study. Bye for now.